right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to discuss the Michigan football cheating scandal. I'll give you my thoughts on that because I know it's been a big topic, in college football. So I'll talk about it. I'll go through a timeline of what's happened with the situation. I was looking at an article on College Football Network and .com, and that basically has a timeline of pretty much everything that's kind of gone on with this whole scandal. So I was kind of just going to go through that. I did see, though, because I was watching a little bit of First Take before I came on. Actually, Michigan is playing Ohio State this week, I believe, and they were talking about how this loss could be very detrimental to Michigan making the college football playoff this year. And it is a home game for them, so that at least helps. But if Ohio State loses, they still have a better chance of making the playoff than Michigan. So that's a huge game. That's a rivalry game. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. So to kind of go through the timeline of this. So on October 17th of this year, of course, there was a investigation of Michigan, and they, because that opened the door for that. And then the next day, the NCAA informed the Big Ten and Michigan that they have opened an investigation and allegations that the program had contravened the rules that states off-campus, in-person scouting of future opponents is prohibited. So then on October 19th, Jim Harbaugh, the head coach, issued a statement saying he really had no idea, had no knowledge of what was going on with this situation. So then on October 20th, Connor Stalions, who is one of the main culprits in all of this, was suspended without pay by the Wolverines, pending the conclusion of the investigation. So basically, with Stalions, so he supposedly purchased tickets over these last few years, where he would, sit behind opposing teams' sidelines, and he would take videos of the sidelines to get the signs. So this was a sign stealing scandal. And of course, if you've seen me talking about, baseball, I do bring up the Houston Astros and their cheating scandal of their sign stealing a lot. So here we go with more sign stealing. So ESPN reports that Stalions purchased tickets for more than 30 games over a 3-year period, citing sources from 11 different schools across the country. A later report puts the number at least 35, with the Michigan analysts visiting 17 stadiums. So the Washington Post then on October 25th reported that sources expect the Michigan sign-stealing operation to cost more than $15,000. The report includes the information that the Wolverines were expecting to have individuals at over 40 games across 10 opponents on the Michigan football schedule. On October 26th, ESPN reports that NCAA enforcement staff have arrived in Ann Arbor as part of the investigation into the Michigan sign-stealing scandal. It's a mess. Former football player and coach alleges that he was paid to attend Big Ten games by Stalions. Those games included at Rutgers and Penn State in 2022, plus the Penn State game against UMass this season. But like I said, Connor Stalions, the main guy behind one of the main guys behind all this. So on November 4th, he quits the university, issuing a statement via his attorney that suggests his decision is entirely to avoid distraction of the football program. He does, however, issue a defense or alibi, if you will, for the Wolverines head coach. So Jim Harbaugh ended up getting suspended for 3 games, and that ended up happening last week on November 10th. But it said Harbaugh will be suspended from in-game coaching but permitted to coach during the weeks. So, and yeah, I mean, he was doing, I saw him doing press before I came on. So, Harbaugh Harbaugh would be suspended from in-game coaching in games against Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State. So, yeah, and then also there's an article that came out recently that there was a booster involved in this. So it was known as the name is Uncle T, alleged to have helped finance the sign stealing scheme. He reportedly contributed to thousands of dollars to cover expenses for in-person scouting by Connor Stallions. So, yeah, just more people involved in it. So yeah, like there were some people that have lost their jobs over this. Jim Harbaugh's in kind of hot water right now. There were reports that said so he did get an extension, but it seemed like Michigan. There were reports that they took it away, but then I saw that wasn't the case. So I don't really know. But yeah, it's kind of a mess right now with what's going on, and obviously Michigan was kind of playing the victim card. You had the coach crying after the game, after their win a couple of weeks ago. It's not looking good right now for the program. I mean, we'll see what happens like at the end of the season. But like I said, this is a big game coming up against Ohio State, so they need to win, because if they don't, then it seems like their odds of making the college football playoff are not good. So, we'll see what happens, and we'll see what happens with Harbaugh. Like, does he keep his job? Do they get rid of him, or is he still going to stick around? So, and one of the other things too is, they talk about the players, and how like the players shouldn't be punished for this. I mean, this wasn't their their wrongdoing, but they also, then on the other hand, you got the fact that the players benefited from this, and I did watch some YouTube videos on it, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of weird how this started, and Michigan's been really good, but it's like Michigan's kind of been a solid football program even before this. So, I mean, you kind of related to, again, the Astros. Like, the Astros were a very good team, and they were like, hey, here's a way we could, take advantage of, a situation here and, make us better. And they went ahead and did some sign stealing. So, I don't know what's going to happen from all of this. It's definitely it's not good. I mean, the similarities between that and the Astros cheating scandal are, it is very similar. I mean, you have somebody taking video of, the opposing team's sideline. It's just like Astros having a camera out in center field and, zooming in on the catcher, and that went into the, into the dugout, and they, would say what the sign was, and they would bang on the trash can. Now, there was nothing like that, but I think what they would do is they would just tell them what the signs were from, where they were, and that's how they would know. But again, it's like you're a good football team, and you're taking advantage of something like that, by doing that. But I don't know. It's like I said, it's definitely a messy situation. We'll see what ends up happening from this, and you never like to see it, but it's one of those things where, again, if it's working and you don't get caught, I mean, you're going to keep doing it, and that's what they did here. And somebody has to take responsibility for it. I mean, they suspended the head coach, they suspended Harbaugh. Some people have lost their jobs over this, and you kind of feel bad for the players, because if the players had no knowledge of this, it's not really their fault, but at the same time, yeah, they're benefiting from this. So, we'll see what happens with Harbaugh at the end of the season. But it seemed that I saw something that said they took away the extension. So, but then I saw that wasn't the case. I mean, I'll check again. Because I was just looking that up last night. Yeah, so so Harbaugh said on October 30th, report of rescinded contract extension inaccurate. So I guess that's not the case. But, you would think maybe at the end of the year, like, do they say, we can't have this, you know, and they get rid of him. I don't know. We'll have to see how it all goes. But it's definitely a messy situation again now. The stuff about the booster that's been like one of the newest details to this whole thing. So I mean, we'll see what ends up happening from it, but yeah, I mean, there's just more layers that continue to come out, and they still got to play football games, and now they got the big game against Ohio State, and we'll see what happens in that. It's a home game, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it when talking about the cheating scandal. But yeah, there's a lot, and also, like the committee, they really don't have the power to just say, you guys aren't in because of this cheating scandal. So, I mean, it's really going to come down to, I guess, this game against Ohio State. If they lose, that's going to really hurt their chances. But if they win, then they should be good. So, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Got a little bit of college football involved here in the segment, in the show. And, yeah, I mean, again, we'll see what happens. I mean, you got a big game coming up this weekend on Saturday. And, yeah, and then they go from there. But, and I also heard what Harbaugh said. He used like a Ted Lasso quote, regarding, when he was talking to the media. And it was just like so, like he was trying to crack jokes when it's like, yeah, you're kind of not in a good spot right now. Maybe it's not appropriate to make some jokes quoting a TV show. But I don't know. Harbaugh was always a little odd, even back in his NFL days with the Niners. He's a good coach. I mean, look at what he did with the 49ers. He turned them around. He turned Michigan around. I mean, where he goes, they win. It's just unfortunate when things like this come up because then that kind of ruins his reputation. So, I don't know. We'll just have to see how this cheating scandal and how the rest of the season plays out. If we get more information, we'll, of course, talk about it. So once again, I just want to remind you guys that before we go to break, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes it more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment. So with that, we are going to take our second break of the show. And then when we come back, we are going to talk about the power rankings that were released this week. I'll go through that, and that'll be the third part of the show. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.